Play first. Ooh. 6 lands and cultivate. I think we mulligan that. Okay. Like a much better hand. I guess we sent back. We sent back Bone Crusher or the Mammoth. I think Bone Crusher. Try to enable. This can enable a T. The Mammoth can enable a T4 Great Henge. Whereas the Bone Crusher is going to draw me a card. I think we'll prioritize the Great Henge here. Trying to get that operational. Especially since we mulliganed, right? We're going to want that consistent card advantage, not the kind of fragile card advantage just from the Innkeeper. But speaking of Innkeepers, we do get another Innkeeper here. Play the Fable Passage. You can just play out the Innkeeper. Try to bait them into, I don't know, spending their turn removing it. And you can crack the Fable Passage to get a Forest. Then we can play Crag Crown as a red source, so we can play Mammoth next turn. And then, like I said, if we can hit a land drop, another land drop, we have the Great Henge on T4. We'll be in business against what may be an opposing Gruul aggro deck. It'll be interesting to see how it does. Looks like my opponent's considering the stomp option. Weighing, is it worth it? Is it not? I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe I haven't seen Obosh. I heard it went extinct after 3 concurrent extinction events. Okay, my opponent does play Bone Crusher Giant. They do get the stomp out. Sure. I'll play Fable Passage, crack it, like I said, for a Forest. Okay, we do get the next land drop, but it's going to be a tap land. I'll play Timber Crown Pathway. Play the Mammoth. So it's like a weird case where if we play the last one like tapped, this will be a 5/5, but we still won't be able to play Great Henge because it's going to be 4 mana. We won't have 4 untapped mana. If we wait till next turn, though, it's going to be 6 mana, right? Because the buff will have gone away on the Mammoth. So it's kind of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't. It would be really ideal if we find Fable Passage. That'd be amazing. Opponent plays a Brushfire Elemental. Let's see if they play a land to follow up. Play a tap land. Okay. Okay, opponent. Say no blocks. Come on, untap land. Yes! Yes! That is what dreams are made of. Go to combat. Swing 5 at my opponent. Damage. Gain some life. Make Innkeeper cantrip here. Find a Fable Passage for next turn. Going to be some big Mammoth damage. And we're 1 mana off of casting Obosh, so we can't double the damage. My opponent is not, twiddling their thumbs over there. They're cracking a Fable Passage. They're going to buff up their Brushfire Elemental to immense proportions, and they are 1 mana off of Embercleave, but they do play Robber the Rich here. Another Robber the Rich as well. They swing out. I think we'll just take down that Robber the Rich. We're going to be winning the card advantage war. Play Fable Passage. Play Glasspool Mimic on the Mammoth. See if we can find any other action here. Find a Fertile Footsteps. Do we want to do that? The alternative would be to get Obosh in hand and get ready to crack back at them, which would be pretty deadly when they have a Fable Passage and double Mammoth. Plus the threat of Cultivate or Beanstalk as well. I think we'll just play Cultivate, get ready for next turn, ensure we get more land drops, and kind of set up for Genesis Ultimatum as well by diversifying what kinds of mana I have access to. So we'll put an island into play. Buff them up some more. Swing in for 7 here. Get my opponent to 8. We have the Fabled Passage back up as well, so we can block something with the Mammoth. Threaten to make it a 6/6. She'll... But okay, my opponent plays an Innkeeper, so they might not be going for the Embercleave line. They are in fact maybe going just going wide now, for fear of their life total rapidly plummeting. They'll play out the Bonecrusher Giant. They're all tapped down. Yeah, they play a Kazandu Mammoth tapped. I'm not going to attack in here, I imagine. They don't. Okay, we play a Mountain. Buffs up my Mammoths. If we swing here, they have to block... They have to block one of them, this Mammoth. They wouldn't have to block the Mammoth on the left. Play a Beanstalk Giant, they would. Or rather, if we play Fertile Footsteps, their blocks that they could do would be Brushfire and Innkeeper if they want to preserve as much of their power as possible. Or maybe Robber and Innkeeper. Which would mean on the next turn, they can crack back for 4, 5 minimum. They have a land that's 4 and 3, 7. And then they would double. If they had Embercleave, they would double one of these. They can make the Bonecrusher deal 10, 10 and 3, 13. Right? Could I have a blocker up? Could play out Obosh, make them block both that way. And then have a blocker up, like I said. 4/6 blocker instead of a 3/5. I can't Beanstalk and or Fertile Footsteps and Beanstalk, I don't think. It's gonna be okay. We'll just grab Obosh. Draw a card. Brazen Borrower. In this case, we have some pretty nice outs. I think we just play it safe. And opponent does block with the Innkeeper. Right, I mean, this has a few advantages, right? We get to pick which things we block. So we get to block both of their potential big threats, the ones that might kill me if they play a land and an Embercleave. And, you know, we're in a great spot. We have the Great Hand Jump. We're gaining 2 life a turn. Now with Brazen Borrower to bounce something, like an Embercleave or the creature they attach Embercleave to. My opponent plays out Vivian. Okay. That's fine. They play a land. Do the +3. Okay, another Fabled Passage. Play land. We can bounce Brazen Borrower. Or no, can use Petty Theft to bounce their token. We can then swing at my opponent, and they have to block everything or they die. Each of these is going to be lethal because they're all odd. No special group blocking or anything, my opponent. Okay. Creatures are gone. I think we just Fertile Footsteps. Get another land. If somehow they're able to recover, we can flash in Brazen Borrower. Have another flying attacker. My opponent can make a 3/3 with Reach, but that's not going to stop, you know, the onslaught of the Mammoths and Obosh. They play Mammoth, start things off there. Play Bone Crusher. Play land. Okay, then make a beast token. So they're still dead, I think, because they're gonna have to block all 4 of these creatures, and all of them are odd. Okay, they concede. So we take down game number 1. Opponent probably going to be bringing in some more artifact removal. Maybe some Crowan Wars. We can play Vivian. Bone Crusher is going to be good, I think. Mammoth, I don't know. Great Henge is still going to be good. Maybe we can go to a couple of Genesis Ultimatums on the draw, just because I don't want to get run over, right? I'm don't know how scared I should be of Crowan War. If I'm really scared of it, I should side in the Brontodon, but I don't know that that's going to be too effective in this case. Could play Clothis to grind my opponent down, gain some life, but I'm also not sure how relevant that's going to be. I think, you know, by and large, just adding in some more Vivian for kind of card advantage, something to Sandwall after we, or Sandbag after we kind of get off to a ramp start could be good. Maybe play at T4 or something, right, if we ramp off Fertile Footsteps or Cultivate. See what my opponent does, though. Okay, opponent took a mulligan. That's a good sign. We keep 7 here. No blue mana, so we can't cast Petty Theft. It's a little annoying. I think we probably do want to start off with a Mammoth, though. You know, just in case we do find a blue source on T2, we'll be able to get Petty Theft. Opponent mulls to 5, though. Okay. Gonna play Heart's Desire? Yep, they do. Yeah, well, we get another Mammoth, which makes the decision even easier. Robber the Rich. Okay, well, that's a good way to come back on cards. And they get an Innkeeper. That is pretty nice for my opponent. But we're just going to get my mana ready, get it going. Play Brushfire. Play a land. Swing in for 6. Get a land. Play my Innkeeper. Can play a Mountain. Okay, we're gonna go careful. The auto tapper. We're gonna Brazen Bar my Innkeeper. Play it. The chump blocker. Keeps them off of cards. Well, they're gonna be getting some from Robber the Rich, potentially. They already get land drop. Run out of 5. Opponent finds a Great Henge. That's nice. We just care about trying to live. Okay, opponent plays out their Love Struck Beasts. Yeah, I think we go to game number 3 here. Genesis Ultimatum. I don't know. I don't know if there's anything I want to bring in over it. It's just like a, you know, if I can survive that long, I just like win. So try this, seeing if being on the play is enough to turn the tides against Gruul aggro. Play first. 42% chance of getting another land, but if we do, we can cultivate. It's risky, but we're going to keep it. We're going to try. We're going to believe. 80% chance. Okay, we get there. We get there. Play the pathway as a green source. We can double Heart's Desire here. Means like if they spend their turn stomping, they're not going to get both. So, I mean, we're going to be cultivating next turn. Can play a mountain. Okay, opponent plays Robber of the Rich. Do we care at this point? Do we care at this point? I'm going to say we just want to get rid of it. Okay, there's a Bone Crusher Giant, but we're going to play a mountain. We're going to cultivate, setting up for a Terror of the Peaks next turn. We'll get an island and a mountain. We'll put the island, or the mountain into play. Pass the turn. So Terror of the Peaks is vulnerable to Shredded Sails, so we have to be mindful of that. My opponent is thinking long and hard, though, maybe deciding what land to play, maybe considering playing a Mammoth. Okay, they play Brushfire. Play land, okay. And an Innkeeper, okay. Swing at me. Here's another Terror of the Peaks. So they're running lower on cards. I think we just blast their Innkeeper, play a Love Strike Beast, buffer my life total. Try to play the long game, right? Try to slow them down. Okay, they play their land for the turn. Still off of Embercleave mana, but they play a Robber of the Rich. 3 cards versus 3 cards. They don't attack. Okay. That's good. Play a Forest, play Terror of the Peaks. Pass that turn. Another Terror coming down next turn. If I think there are a couple of big threats we could also play instead. Go Love Struck, Bone Crusher, 5 and 4. Wipe their board. Or any other things they play. Start picking off Vivians if they do. Play a Crow in War. Okay. I should have been more afraid of it. I guess we can play Beanstalk. Get another island. And play the other Love Struck Beast. They can't attack, so they're not going to be dealing damage to themselves or attacking anytime soon. You get buffers. Play Great Hunch, okay. Pretty scary, but I don't think it's going to quite cut it. I mean, I guess the fact that they have these two kind of big high-end threats would be probably reason to put in some Brontodons. So in the future, I'll probably take out the other remaining Genesis Ultimatum. So that would mean at this point, I can just play Genesis Ultimatums. So we could get Obosh to hand, then play it, setting up for a pretty spicy turn next turn. Beanstalk's going to be an 8/8, so it deals 16 damage if Obosh is on the field. Or maybe we can just play Terror. Get Obosh to hand. Okay, so we get 2 Terror of the Peaks now. We can play a third one. 10 damage. The opponent plays Brushfire Elemental. They're kind of in dig mode. play Brontodon. Okay, they were getting ready for my own Great Henge, it seems like. And they play another Brushfire. They are going off on Brushfire elementals. Will block though. We're all tapped out. Okay. They concede, so we get there in game 3. We do some careful maths, some careful, cautious play, not overcommitting, not playing greedy. We just had the wall of Lovestruck Beasts up, and then we, despite having our Terror of the Peak stolen, we were able to recoup victory, defeat Rule Hordes once more. Yeah, we're going to be playing first with Temur Ramp, Temur Adventure Ramp to be specific. And it looks a little slow, but we do have some card advantage. We do have some ramp. We just have to hit that third land drop. And as long as we do, I think we're going to be golden. I'll have to see too if we want to play out the Innkeeper on T2. Again, it's probably going to depend on what my opponent does, what they have going there, how aggressive they are. They have a Ketria Triumph of their own. So I think to avoid any kind of stomp nonsense, we will not play the Innkeeper now. This might be a mirror match, although they don't have a Obosh. Opponent plays a Shatter Skull Smashing. I guess we'll crack the Fable Passage now. Got a green source, I suppose. Well, there's a Great Henge. So my opponent did play a Ketria Triumph and then a Shatter Skull Smashing. I guess we don't want to play at the Innkeeper. They still could have a stomp. Next turn we have a guaranteed play though. And play out Fertile Footsteps, so it's not like we're going to be missing out on too much. My opponent cycles a Migration Path. Maybe they're digging for more lands. Regardless, they find one. We'll crack the Fable Passage. We can get blue this time, so we can flash in our Brazen Borrower if we so desire. And I suppose we'll just stomp my opponent. Draw another land, which we do. We can go Innkeeper into Bone Crusher Giant, draw a card, and set up Great Henge for the following turn if we get another land. Because of course that's going to be 5 mana now that we have a 4-power creature on the board. But, this develops my board state real well. We get 5 power on the board. Opponent is doing some fast ramping as well, though, so we do have to be careful. We have to be wary about what they're up to. And, I mean, it does seem like it's ramp versus ramp, right? Okay, so we don't actually get that next land drop, so we can't play Great Henge this turn. But we can do, or rather what we can do, is swing for 5. We can play Fertile Footsteps, getting a red source. And we can pass the turn, holding up Brazen Borrower if we want. Or really Petty Theft, not Brazen Borrower, but point stands. The next turn we have Great Henge ready. Put it on 6 mana. Another Cultivate. Okay, maybe they're going for the Ugin play. I mean, Great Henge I think is going to be good at stopping that. They're going to have to get a whole bunch of... Surprised I didn't get it. Oh, I guess it's... Petty Theft is non-land. I was thinking I would just bounce my Bone Crusher, but can't do that. But anyway, I'm not too scared of Ugin. Maybe I should be now that they just removed my Bone Crusher Giant. I'll go to combat. I guess we'll... Yeah, we'll go to combat. We'll swing one at my opponent. That's not going to change. We can... play out a Lovestruck Beast. So we keep up the Brazen Borrower as well. We're still 1 mana short of being able to cast Great Henge. If we drew another land there, another forest to be specific, we could have done that. My opponent is playing Genesis Ultimatum, so yeah, don't have any counter magic, can't stop that. Just have to Probably the punch is they get 2 lands, so not the greatest of ultimatums for sure. I wonder what they opted for instead. We'll flash in the Brazen Barber though. See if my opponent wants to stomp the Innkeeper or something. And we're 2 mana short of they disrupt me. Interesting. Okay, we get another land though. Play the Pathway as a red source so we can do an ultimatum of our own. So that's one option. I guess the winning play would be to get a Terror of Peaks and to then get some creatures out of the deal. So I have 4 Terror of Peaks in my deck left. And my untapped GG says that there's a 10% chance of hitting any one of them. So if we're looking at 5 cards, the chance of hitting one would be 50%. And then we want to hit another creature, and odds look okay. Would be totally tapped out though. Alternative would be to play the Great Henge, go for more of a value play. My opponent's still going to be at 4. I mean, it's 50-50 on hitting big, or could just get blown out by maybe an Ugin or something. Though, I mean, if they had an Ugin, I imagine they would have put it on the board there and -3'd, right, to get rid of my board. It's kind of a question of what did they get. Maybe they got another ultimatum or something, and things they'd rather put on an adventure. I think we'll just play the Great Henge. We'll go to combat. Swing at my opponent, get them to 4. And it'll make it easier to just kill them on a subsequent turn of ultimatum. And so here there's some interesting decisions to make. I think we want to henge and Fertile Footsteps using the red mana to get another land. You can get an island. We can pass the turn. So this way we got more mana on the board and we still hold up the Brazen Borrower. And since my opponent's only at 4 life, this will flash in as a 4/2 because of the henge, and we'll be able to swing it for lethal even if they Ugin. So they do have another ultimatum. So I think I was probably right in what they drew. They only put 2 lands in, so they drew 3 things they didn't want to play. One of them was probably the ultimatum. Okay, one of them is a Beanstalk Giant. I have to see if my opponent has any non-land spells they can flash in. Or we could flash it in the Brazen Borrower. I guess we bounce the Beanstalk. I'm assuming they have something. It seems like they have stops as well, so. Yeah, okay, so they fire Prophecy. They do get a Shark. They would have had action there. Bounce the Giant to their hand, though. But it still has something they can do, it seems like. Oh, they're going to discards. Okay. So the odds, I think, are only going up that I hit a Terror of the Peaks here. Only now we can play another creature if we hit one. And just kill my opponent. Although I have to be careful with the mana. I mean, I think we just have to go for it. And play around Mystical Dispute as well. You have 3 mana up. Okay, we got 2 Terror of the Peaks. Yeah, we'll just get everything. And blast my opponents to bits. Oh, look at all these triggers. Yeah, okay. So this is definitely the kind of more traditional ramp style, right? They're just going hard ramp. They're not playing as many creatures, so they're a little more susceptible to aggro, I would say. They are probably running, Ugin as the top end, and we saw those ultimatums as well, those Genesis ultimatums. So you can think here, we're going to want things to maybe deal with this ultimatum. So maybe some mystical disputes. They do have Shark Typhoon as well, they're running that. So Brazen Borrower could still be good just to deal with those shark tokens. Bone Crusher might not be too great, just because they probably won't have too many stomp targets. Maybe take out a couple of Bone Crushers, put in a couple of Mystical Disputes. Ox of Agonis could be interesting. They were playing, a decent amount of removal, but it is also susceptible to Ugin. It can be exiled if they choose X equals 5, part of a big board wipe. So I don't know how beneficial that is. Vivian could be okay, but again, it suffers from the same susceptibility to Ugin. Lothis again, and Bontodon. Yeah, I'm just not sure that there's all that much I want to be citing in here. I mean, I did pretty well in the first game. We'll see what my opponent does. They might bring in some mystical disputes of their own. So I'll have to assess as is. Maybe take out another giant in favor of another mystical dispute. Okay, so this hand, fairly rough. Only 2 lands. They're all both blue, so we can't ensure we play Fertile Footsteps. I think we want a mulligan. This looks better. So we'll keep 6 for sure. Guess send back a Fable Passage. Go Triome, Cultivate. Like I said, Triome. I'm not going to play into their Fire Prophecies. And I mean, that's another good thing too to keep in mind. Like they had main deck Fire Prophecy, right? So giants are susceptible to that. And as such, they're keeping up mana. Let's play Ketria Triome. Improve my mana base for the future. Don't want to. I guess they have 2 mana up and they're not doing anything with it. So maybe it was a Stomp and not a Fire Prophecy, right? Because Fire Prophecy is target creature. And there were no creatures on the board. And they could stomp me. Opponent does play Beanstalk Giant though, or either Fertile Footsteps. We'll play an island to hit that 3rd blue source for Genesis Ultimatum. We'll get 2 other lands there. Put them out into play. Pass the turn. So we're at least keeping up with them in ramp so far. Though they're going to be the first one to get off a Genesis Ultimatum. And okay, definitely at this rate. We find a Brazen Borrower. We'll play a Forest. We'll play an Innkeeper. We'll pass the turn. Flash in the Brazen Borrower if they don't do something crazy. Okay, yeah, Ugin's kind of crazy, huh? See what they choose to do with it, though. They do the +2. I guess we will flash in the Brazen Borrower. Draw a card. Try to find some action, but we're not finding it. We can cycle a Triumph, I think that's safe to do. Okay, another Fable Passage. Do we even have any basic lands left in my deck? Yes, I got some. Play Craig Crown as a red source, I suppose. Go to combat, swing 3 at Ugin, slow them down from ulting, get Obosh to hand, pass the turn, and pin all my hopes onto the Genesis Ultimatum. And on the hopes that they don't have any counterspells to counter my Genesis Ultimatum. Okay, but they get an ultimatum of their own, so we'll see what they choose here. Okay, they get a Beanstalk Giant. When a +2's on my borrower, sure. Bolt in Shatter Skill Smashing. curious move. They have Forest. So we can Genesis Ultimatum here. Opponent left 3 mana up, so they're probably going to try to counter whatever I play. I think we just have to go for it, though. We're dying real fast. And if they have counter magic, then so be it. Let's go to game 3. Sure. Okay. I think we do want that additional Mystical Dispute. We'll take out one more Giant. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that we're super sideboard ready for the mirror matchup, right? With this different style of Temur ramp, the less creature-based version. Play first, though. This looks okay. Start with a Mammoth tapped, pass the turn. Banking on Cultivate. Okay, so we do actually get a 3rd land, so we don't have to make our Mammoth into a land. We can hopefully use it. Opponent does have Disrupt mana up, though. I think we'll just play a Forest, play Kozandu Mammoth, pass the turn. Yep. So they disrupt it. Better that than Cultivator Beanstalk. And now we'll play a Forest. Play Cultivate. Playing around Dispute. Or not playing around Dispute, but playing around Disruption. So we'll get another, or a mountain, I guess. And we can get another island. We'll put the mountain into play. If my opponent does anything. No, they don't. Still not sure what that. Maybe a shark? That could be it. Could have a Shark Typhoon in hand. And I play Migration Path, so I get to 6 lands. And a Glasspool Mimic could be interesting. We're going to play an island. We are going to Beanstalk Giant. Get another red source, I guess. We're going to pass the turn. We're still actually 1 mana off of being able to use Genesis Ultimatum. We need another blue source. Whereas my opponent can cast it this turn, but we'll see if they do it into open mana. 4 of it, to be precise. And they know I didn't get a Bosch to hand, so they must be thinking that something is up. Okay, they play another Migration Path. Flash in Brazen Borrower, put a little pressure on him. Oh, there's another Genesis Ultimatum. We'll go to combat. We will swing 3 at my opponent. They let it through. I mean, I think we just try to play Beanstalk. Try to clear the way for my own ultimatum. My own, hopefully, path to winning the game. Yeah, but they play Disruption. They a lot of main deck disruptions. We're gonna play the Mimic as a land, though, and I'll pass the turn. When at Fire Prophecies, Brazen Borrower. Maybe they're trying to dig for something. At the moment, they can't play Genesis Ultimatum. They're 1 red mana short. Yeah, they play Beanstalk Giant, or their Fertile Footsteps. Get another land, 5 mana up. We'll see if they tap down. They do not, but we're going to play an island, and we're going to Genesis Ultimatum. See if they have a counter spell for it. They cycle. Not leaving any counter magic up, though. Any mana for counter magic. Get a whole bunch of lands. I guess we'll get Obosh to hand. Pass the turn. So I might be able to double Genesis Ultimatum next turn. Or opponent Genesis Ultimatums of their own. See what they find. That's a good one. That's gonna kill me next turn. See if they tap down. They bolt in, Shatter Skull Smashing. I guess we'll get green. So can I Shatter, or can I Genesis Ultimatum twice? Or actually, one man is short doing that. One is at 14 life. No, Obosh is in hand. 2 cards left. Bolted in, Shatter Skull Smashing. Not sure why. We can still Obosh and play Genesis Ultimatum. I think we just gotta go for it. Okay, they had negate, so we were just dead. Well, rip. Okay, opponent goes first. We do have a nice opening, though. Keep 7. Opponent plays a Fable Passage. We will start with the Forest. Heart's Desire, pass the turn. Excuse me, hope to go, I don't know, 2-2 something, like a Stomp. Or Petty Theft, T3, Love Shark Beast, T4, Great Henge. The ideal against Sub Hunter. Opponent grabs a mountain, so that might be Gruul Agarov. Nope, okay, I'd play a Swamp. Appears to be Rakdos mid-range. Okay, they mill a couple cards into their bin. Okay, well, find the Petty Theft I was talking about. So we'll play an island, pass the turn here. When it swings, I think we'll just let it pass. We need to give them more graveyard fuel and get rid of my 1/1 to let my Love Shark attack. They're gonna make me discard a card. I guess I'll discard a Fable Passage. Go to my turn. We can play a Mountain, go to combat, swing one of my opponent, play Love Shark Beast, hope they don't kill it, pass the turn. I think they're going to be hard pressed to kill it. Well, maybe not. They might have Eliminate, Heartless Act. Okay, well, there's Eliminate. There goes that plan. Opponent swings for 2, though. So we do get a Mammoth. In the interest of making the Mammoth as large as possible, we will play it and save the Fable for next turn. So you can play it and sack it, and then Great Henge would be just 2 mana, right? So that'd be nice. Again, assuming they don't kill the Mammoth. Okay, they play Elspeth's Nightmare, so they get to kill my 1/1. That's going to be fine, I think. They don't attack. Okay, so we play the Fable Passage. Crack it for blue. Play Great Henge. Maybe I should have gotten red, but that's okay. Stomp the Mire Triton. You can get in for 7. Now the question is, do I want to bounce the Nightmare so they don't hit my ultimatum? Do I want to just play the Borrower and put on more pressure? I think we want to bounce and preserve our ultimatum. Hit for 7. Make them choose between playing this again and hitting my hand, or committing to the board. I have a large attacker, right? Kind of pressuring them. So make them side. 1 mana off of being able to recur Kroxa. We'll see if they draw another mountain, but they seem pretty, limited on lands. So they play a Hunted Nightmare. Okay. It's got Menace. And start by playing the Bone Crusher Giant, seeing if we can find a land drop to power up the Mammoth. We cannot. I think just we'll go for the Brazen Borrower, try to find a land. Diversify my board. Okay. We do find a land. We even find a blue land, but it's tricky. If we play this as a blue source, we don't get to play Terror of the Peaks next turn. I think we'll play it as a red source. Swing 5 at my opponent. Get them to 9. And they could Extinction Event here, and that'd be pretty tough, but do have Ultimatum, Terror of the Peaks, Brazen Borrower. Okay, they stomp the Brazen Borrower. Borrowing is off the menu. It is no longer an option, sadly. But we do have another one. We have backup. We came prepared to borrow. And now I'm punished for turning Lava Glide Pathway into a red source instead of a blue source, but get there. We'll persevere. And this can be lethal, actually, so we'll just bounce my opponent's Hunted Nightmare, swing in for 10 damage. Okay, we get there. Perfect. Okay. So you know my opponent is on Rakdos midrange. I'm going to want to bring in Colossus. I think this is probably the matchup to do that. Bone Crushers, I don't know how good they're going to be. I don't really want to stop their things, and the things that I care about getting rid of, Roxa, their Ox, any other big threats are going to be out of reach of Bone Crusher Giant, all their scary stuff. I think we get rid of Bone Crusher. Maybe put in a couple of Vivians as well, so once I start attacking my hand, I still have ways to kind of generate advantage in those tokens and in using the -2 to make my creatures find other creatures and get even more value out of them, right? So I think that's going to be the sideboard plan for the Rakdos midrange matchup. And I mean, I don't even know how popular Rakdos midrange is anymore, right? Like, I don't know that it's a top deck, maybe T2, something like that. Okay, this looks like a largely keepable hand, so I think we will keep it. And it starts off with a Castle Lochthwain. They have Fable Passage past the turn. Probably crack it for a blue source. Okay, opponent plays Kroxa. Could pitch the Mammoth. It's probably fine. Okay, we get a blue source. We get Crag Crown Pathway as a forest. I mean, I guess we could just play stuff. We want to play the Innkeeper, or try to be greedier and go for the double Innkeeper, or at least try to ensure we get value. I think we try to be a little proactive here. Make them either attack my hand or attack my board, not do both. Because we can just stall till we get the Genesis Ultimatum. You're never going to just probably just win off the bat there. The opponent kept one on top off the Scry, though. I am Innkeeper. Okay, they stomp the Innkeeper. Sure. Playing Colossus, so. Play Riverglide as a red source, so play Colossus, eyeing that Croxa in my opponent's graveyard, which is right now alone, sad, and this is going to be really hard for them to deal with, right? An indestructible enchantment. It's not a creature right now. Okay. But they have a Farrakhan's Libation. Sure thing, Ombre. Play an Innkeeper, pass the turn. Man, look at that. They were ready. Ready and waiting. Sideboard tech. Opponent plays another Croxa. I guess we'll pitch the Innkeeper. Try to play around Stomp or something. Okay, opponent plays Bone Crusher Giant. Crack the Fable Passage. Get another blue source. We will flash in Brazen Borrower. Drawing a card. We get another land. Oh no. Short on the green mana now. Play an island, go to combat, swing 3 in the air. My opponent, grab Obosh. Opponent at 3 cards in the graveyard. We are 2 mana off of it, Genesis Ultimatum. And we also can't cast Obosh either, so it's miserable on all accounts. Okay. End of uncastable things. Another Croxa. I think we pitch Obosh here. So 4 cards in the graveyard. Oh my god. Opponent Shredded Sails. 5 cards in the graveyard. Swing in for 4. No blocks. I Maze my Tome. Another Maze my Tome. Okay, there we go. That's some action. You're going to grab a forest. We are going to go to combat, swing 1 at my opponent. We're going to play a Vivian. Terror of the Peak's coming up. Can't play it though. Don't have that second red source. Give it a vigilance counter so it can attack and block. I'm doing some scrying now. Let's see what they want to keep. They put 1 on bottom. But another on bottom. Okay, that's good. You can do some more scrying, it looks like. They're in straight top deck mode at this point, although they do have a Castle Lockthwain. Okay, another on bottom. So yeah, they're going to scry 4 to the bottom now. They do. Opponent not finding what they want. But like I said, they do have a Castle Lockthwain, so if they're really desperate, they can do that. Opponent swings at Vivian. If we don't block, Vivian will die. But we can just play another one. They have 1 mystery card in their hand. If we do this, we discard our current Vivian. And they play back Croxa. I guess we let it through. Right? Right? I guess, yeah. Tough call. Don't want to get them Croxa though. And they play Mire Triton. Play Vivian though. Vivian, take 2. Okay, we're going to be able to cast Genesis Ultimatum next turn, provided nothing happens to my library, the top of it, to be specific. You could just pass here. We also have the interaction of Terror of the Peaks as well. We can play it, and then we can -2 Vivian, then play Terror. We can get Terror, we can get the Glassful Mimic to copy it. So that's another play, right? That's going to be, what? Is it 5 or is it 10 damage? I think it would be 5, because it's another creature. The other Terror, the copy of it from the Mimic, wouldn't see itself. But meanwhile, my opponent is playing Kroxa. We're going to discard the Terror of the Peaks in favor of Genesis Ultimatum. Opponent now swings at Vivian. Block the Bone Crusher. Have Vivian go to 2. Seems fine. I'm not going to play creatures next turn anyway, so. And they Blood Chief's Thirst on my Innkeeper. Sure thing. Okay, so we play the Crag Crown Pathway. You see that my top card is a Triome, so that's not great. But we're gonna ultimatum here. I do find a Beanstalk Giant, so I guess we'll just put that in. Another ultimatum coming up too. That's gonna be nice. Okay, so totally empty-handed as well. So Kroxa won't affect me in terms of making me discard. I'll still take 3 damage, of course, from the trigger, because I can't discard. Opponents sacking their tomes, though, doing some more scrying, maybe drawing cards. They put 1 on bottom. Sack another tome. Another on bottom. So they've only put things on the bottom with their tomes. They've just been scry to the bottom, scry to the bottom. All they've been doing. But, I mean, we're in a good position now. We have 3 3s, we have an 11-11, Vivian, another ultimatum. And I think, this was the call, putting in Vivian here, just showing how versatile and valuable she is in this context. And then, of course, just, like I said, trying to stall till we can just start ultimatuming, issuing ultimatums. Issuing ultimatums. Opponent stomps me. Plays out the Bone Crusher. Okay, so we can Genesis Ultimatum again. We know one of the cards is going to be Kazandu Mammoth, which is okay, not great. Are there any 2-drops we want to get off of the -2 on Vivian? Do a quick little deck check here. The only one possible would be Innkeeper, so that's not going to fly. Using -2 on Mammoth isn't great. I mean, we need to start hitting Terror of the Peaks, so I think we just want to play the Mammoth. Play the Ultimatum. Maybe hit a... okay, we found another Genesis Ultimatum. That's not terrible. We want to bounce anything with the Brazen Borrower. Don't necessarily think so. I think we'll just put it on the battlefield. Okay. Mammoth gets huge. We'll just keep +1ing. Now they might attack here. Maybe I should have left one of those lands in my hand so I could not have to pitch my ultimatum. That would have been smart. We'll see if my opponent even attacks here. They might not. I don't have enough for Croxa, so they couldn't get it back right away. Okay, they don't attack. Crisis averted. See the Mimic over there. I think we just go for the ultimatum. There we go. Okay. That should do it. Yeah, I'll just pick everything. I have a copy Beanstalk. And these Terror of the Peaks triggers should do the job. Okay. There we go. Taken down Rakdos mid-range.